Hello, everyone, and welcome to Maximum Rising. My name is Stephanie, and I'm here to guide those of us that are recovering from religious and emotional trauma. Okay, so you say, all right, Steph, I left the religion, I left that relationship, whatever it was that was having you traumatized, either via religion or emotional. Okay, so what do I do now? Well, just to share a little bit of myself, the next step that I took was researching. And I'm going to throw in some astrological phrases in there, just to help those of us that are into astrology or interested in astrology to understand. So I'm a Scorpio rising, which is I'm really stepping into that this year. Now that doesn't mean we are all 12, really 13, but all 12 of these zodiac signs constellations, in case y'all did not know that, because no, these are not just made up things that people long ago just threw up there. No, these are actual constellations in the sky. Okay, so I did some research about Jesus, which the Jews call Yeshua, and just to see, okay, is this guy real? What is it that I need to know? So when it came down to it, he was real, but he was nothing that was taught to me. So I just continued to do research about the Bible, who really wrote it, because I just no longer believed the lies. I mean, and by this time in my life, it's 2013. I'm either 30 or about to turn 31, the two. And I was just really overwhelmed. My best friend had also just died. So I had never grieved before. And so it was really taking a toll on me. And to be quite honest, I did not know who I believed in. I didn't know if God existed. I didn't know any of it. And so what it really came down to was just having support. I worked for a guy that has special needs, and his dad supported me. Because even though his dad was, I say, quote unquote, religious, he didn't believe all the BS. Okay? And then I lived with a family that went through the same thing I had gone through, and they supported me, by saying, do what makes you happy, stop staying in your room, come on out, because I was extremely introverted. I didn't really know who to trust. But my final decision, just to go back a bit, was when I went to church. My mom was up there doing the Sabbath school lesson because, I'm a former Seventh-day Adventist Reform Movement, to be specific, because we believe that the Adventists had it all wrong and we had it right. The whole ego thing. And so what made my final decision, because I was on the edge. I mean, you're talking about someone. I mean, I grew up in this. I had friends in the church that I knew were going to be against me as soon as I left. I had several warnings, even by my really good childhood friend, about you got to be careful what you say and all that other stuff. But I spoke up. I spoke up in their groups. I spoke up at church, and they had an issue with women speaking up. So anyway, it was when I last stepped into that church, it was so cold. So cold. The energy was just cold. There was no love. None. And so that is what made my decision. And as they sang, I left, and I never looked back. So fast forward to me researching. I was also in a religious, it wasn't a recovery, but a religious trauma group that my really good friend has started, because she's the one that had had even talked about religious trauma, and I'm like, that's a thing? Okay. So I went from researching to just journaling how I felt. And just, I love writing. Poetry in the past really supported me. At the time, I played guitar. Some music really supported me. And sometimes I would play and I would cry. I wrote poetry, which often turned to songs. I could hear the music in my head. And sometimes I couldn't sleep at night because I would hear how it was supposed to sound. And I would just play it. And one time as I played, the words came. It was just magical. But I know it was just spirit allowing itself to be made known to me, because I had asked, I said, I obviously don't know who you are. So if there is a God, a spirit, whatever the fuck this is, can you please make yourself known? And so one thing I will say, if you choose to research, and again, this is just me sharing myself. I'm not saying go research. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is to discover who God, Great Spirit, universe, the creator, whatever you want to call this energy, this vibe. Discover what it is for you. What I have discovered is, at first, to be quite honest, I had a thing for people that went to church. I did not like them because I thought, you're all hypocrites. You're all the same. But when I allowed myself to just be open, I found that a lot of churches were not like the one I was raised in. There are a lot of non-denominational churches out there. And there are a lot of people that are religious, but they marriage that with spirituality. Now, the spirituality I was taught in church is not the spirituality that I discovered later on. So discover what it is that you believe. It does not have to be the belief or your knowing, as I like to call your inner knowing, right? You don't have to go by what your parents taught you, by what your pastor said. And so I mean, you're going to feel confused for a while. You're going to feel a little lost. And you're not going to know who to trust. But, a lot of what I did is I reached out to people that I knew were no longer members and asked them, hey, this is what I'm noticing, even before I left. And I'm like, are you noticing the same thing? And they're like, yeah, girl, that's why I left. And they shared with me. So just to give you a bit of background about the crazy belief system. So let's say you got married, right? Okay. Which I totally disagree with. So, and I'm coming to the disagreement part. So you get married, all right? And your husband or your wife cheat on you. Now, just to be specific, now in the religion I grew up in, they did not like gays. They did not like lesbians, okay? I don't like labels. I don't usually say that, but I'm just saying, like, they did not like them, okay? But then I found out my uncle was gay. What am I going to do, hate my uncle? Of course not. So when I say husband and wife, I'm talking about opposite sex, not same sex. To me, you love who you love, you fall for who you fall for, whether it's same sex or not. And that wasn't even an issue until the church, if you get my drift, made it an issue. Okay? You can look in history and see that even Native Americans, Africans, all these cultures, they did not make a big deal if you happened to spend time with the same sex and you fell for them. All right? So I'm talking about specifically the religion that I came out of. They did not like them. All right? So anyway, let's say your spouse cheats on you. You are not allowed to remarry, which is utter bullshit to me. And So what you do? Well, you would just stay unmarried, and the only way you could marry is if that spouse died. All right. I totally disagreed with that, and me and the lady all the way in Australia and other people, we fought it. We're like, this is not right. This is not God. God would not do this. Well, sister, if you looked at the Bible, we called each other brother and sister in the church, almost cult-like, if you will. Oh, you should, you need to read the Bible because the Bible says this. Well, know that this is how the minister looks at the Bible. And see, this is how it all got started. As I did my research, see, the poor folk, way, way, way back in the day, did not know how to read. So the priest would come, or the intelligent person or the rich person would come into the house to read the Bible, and you just believed everything they said. All right? There are things in the Bible that are stated that are not even scripture. It was just a threat, like, for instance, a scribe had written in the Bible. Now all scribes knew how to read and write. So again, some of the words would be like just smeared together, and it didn't make sense. So when it translated into English, it didn't make sense. So there is a quote in the Bible, and if you're triggered by the Bible, you may want to stop looking at this. But there's a quote in the Bible that says, those that, and I'm paraphrasing, but those that change these words will go to hell. Those that don't live by them will go to hell, something like that. But I know, like, the whole point is you don't change or add to these words or you're going to hell. So when I did research on that, because everybody loved to quote that one, it's like, yeah, the Bible says don't add or take away. It was a scribe that wrote that as a warning to anybody that wrote after him that, don't change or add to what I wrote or I'm condemning you to hell. That's what that was about. All right. So another thing was that I disagreed with the religion. If your husband beats you or treats you not in the way you should be treated, either emotionally abusive, physically abusive, whatever, you are to stay with your husband because God wants you to. Okay, I totally disagree with that. There is actually if you're interested, there's actually a podcast called Reeling Religion, and that the person I'm referring to was not only in the group that I was in, but she also shares her story on the podcast about the mistreatment that her husband had, and unfortunately, this came from her dad. She thought it was normal. All right. Another thing I disagreed with is that, well, women, you shouldn't wear pants. Now, granted, it depends on where you live. If you go to California and you go to Canada, women wear pants. They just don't wear it to church. In the South, it's more strict. Yeah, don't go to church wearing pants, and through the week you're not supposed to wear pants. All right. A lot of people, because this religion was and still is worldwide. A lot of women in the countries you would see, they would wear pants and nobody would say anything. Okay, so it was very two-faced, if you will. Okay, so so that depended on it, and the reason why women, especially wearing anything like this, I could not wear this. But, it was a lot like high school. People talked about you in high school. Oh, my God, do you see what she's wearing? It was a lot like that. And to me, you wear whatever you're comfortable with. And if you're convinced later on, okay, maybe I shouldn't wear this, then don't wear it. And my thing is, I saw guys come to church with tight-fitting clothes, even tight-fitting pants, and you could see everything. Nobody said anything. Okay, so again, twofold. All right. And the reason being, was because in Ezekiel it said, oh, women shouldn't dress like men shouldn't dress like women. Okay? But if you dig deeper, as one of the pastors brought forth, it was actually the Israelites. To me, this isn't about the Israelites. To me, it's about something else. But we'll save that for another time if you're interested. But it was the Israelites come into new land, and Jehovah was just saying, don't dress like they do. Keep the way that you're dressing. That's it. Had nothing to do with women wearing pants. But, religion can take stuff out the Bible and make it the way that they want. They shouldn't. But, and it's funny because if people really, if they really abide by don't add to or take away, when you're taking one thing out of the Bible and you're putting your 2 cents to it, aren't you adding to it? I just find it really funny. Sorry. Okay, so yes, lots of researching, lots of journaling, and yes, that subscribes to the Scorpio part of my chart because of the fact that Scorpios like to dig. Okay, that's why you never know they're in the sand because they cover themselves. They dig and dig and dig. Okay, and my Virgo, which I'm a Virgo sun, the sun will be in Virgo soon. I'm very analytical. So you put the Virgo with the Scorpio and the digging, I'm really analytical. So that's what I did. Later on, what ended up happening is thankful. I'll call him my Cancer friend, my Cancer Leo cusp friend. I've known him since he was born. I was 3 years old. And what really kind of, helped me, supported me, was being open. So everything that was satanic, I tried. I laugh at that because it wasn't satanic at all. So the longest time I was told that yoga was satanic. So I'm like, well, let me see for myself as if yoga is satanic. So I went to a yoga class, fell in love with it. And yoga is really good. I was in fight or flight. I had a lot of anxiety at the time. And yoga was really good for supporting me and letting go. But before doing yoga, I did do Pilates. But I did not feel a difference until I did yoga. So I did yoga, fell in love with it, moved, found a yoga. I called it my happy place. Found a yoga studio, went there, did yoga every Thursday. And I really started calming down, got into meditation. And meditation, at first it was just me sitting still for 5 minutes, listening to my breath. And that's all I could do because, the ego kept talking. It wouldn't shut up. So then, and talking to my Cancer Leo cusp friend, I learned to talk about my feelings. And I say it that way because at that time I was like, feelings, I don't do feelings. Okay, so that's that Scorpio. For Scorpios, Scorpio, if you're Scorpio rising, have a lot of planets Scorpio, your Scorpio sun, most likely you hold shit inside. Okay, you don't want to talk about it. And the reason why I didn't is because I didn't see the point. So what usually happens to Scorpios is that when we hold things inside to the point where people keep pushing and pushing and pushing, we come out and we sting the shit out of you. What do I mean by that? Scorpios know, for those of us that are massage therapists, we know where to hurt you, okay? A massage therapist knows how to hurt you, which is why we avoid endangerment zones like behind the knee, the armpit. This is really your armpit. People's like, oh my God, you're in my armpit. No, this is not your armpit, which is your subscap. Okay? This is your armpit. This is where we do not go. All right? But so y'all understand, we're like, yeah, we're going to go in your armpit, which is really not what we're doing. But anyway, I'm saying all that to say that Scorpios will go where it hurts. We will bring out things that you did last year. We will bring up stuff that you did a month ago because we're not over it. So then we start talking about our quote unquote feelings by stinging you. Okay? We're a great match for Aries, by the way, because Aries will try to set a fire, and we're like, oh, you want to set a fire? Here's some water. Let's just burn the whole place down. Okay. So yeah, we know how to get you. And we are very merciless when we do it. Okay. And it does not come from a place of love at all. It comes up from a place of, you know what, you deserve what's getting to you. Okay. And then when you add the Aquarian number in there, Aquarians are very detached. Okay. So when you add that in there, and that is my moon sign. So which means if you have this or a lot of planets in Aquarius, this basically means not only can, and I'll use myself as an example, not only do I know where to hurt you, I also know to detach from it, and it's like nothing happened. Really scary. So, excuse me, my dear friend, who's like a brother to me, got me to speak about my feelings. All right. And in this process, you know, I did learn to feel. I learned about emotions, how emotions can attach to me, which is why when I massage, like I could feel everything. You know, like if you had a headache, I would have a headache later on. Whatever was going on with your hip went on with my hip. I did not know how to block it. I mean, now I know you don't block it, you let it move through you, and you don't leave yourself. So the belief at the time was, don't leave yourself open and blah, blah, blah. You block, you block, you block, you block. And I did for a while, but now, not only does it feel like that, you know, the religious trauma and the emotional trauma never happened to me, I'm able to allow that to move through me. Okay. So what I call it now is just low energy, right? So eventually, my wish for you is that not only will you do what you feel like you need to do, getting to know who God, source, whatever the vibe, the energy is for you, to you. Do you believe the Bible? Do you not believe the Bible? Whatever it is. But my wish for you also, in light of the new moon in Leo, which we're still under that umbrella, my wish for you is to also allow things to just move through. This is where the breath comes in, okay? And this is where the detachment comes in. This is why, and I won't be doing it this time, but this is why I love to do the candle meditation. Okay? So when you see me do a candle meditation, what that does, number one, it gives you a visual. Okay? Often when we're doing the candle meditation in the beginning, you'll see me do the ocean breath, the water breath. Okay, and the reason why we do the water breathing is because it gets you into balance. You're breathing in for 4, and when you're breathing out for 4, we're counting down. So it gets you into that balanced state. Okay. Another reason why I do it though is until you get used to allowing things to move through you, it's going to trigger you. So allow yourself to be triggered. If you decided to keep watching this, great. If you were triggered by it, great. And I don't mean that in any malicious way. It's just that when you're triggered by something, I'll just bring it back to myself. I have learned that that's because there is some learning for me. The Native Americans believe that there is medicine in pain and the hurt and the trigger. There is medicine. What do I mean by medicine? There is a lesson. What is it? Why are you getting triggered? And now I'm going to bring in a little bit of psychology into this, into maybe asking yourself some questions like, okay, I really feel triggered when she mentions the Bible, when she says God, okay? And I'm there with you. It took me a long time to say God again, okay? So, so the questions to ask that I ask myself, okay, am I being triggered because of the person, or am I being triggered because it reminded me of something in the past that I get to let go of? All right. Other things that I have done is I had a therapist. Was she certified in therapy? No, but she was certified in psychology. And no, I did not, go and pay for a therapist. But she knew so much about psychology, more than I did. I trusted her. So I was able to open up to her. And I also had a friend that introduced me to Emotion Code, okay? I had 17 generations of fear and anxiety. So the fear and anxiety was not just being triggered from the emotion and the religious trauma. This is 17 generations on my dad's side we're talking about, okay? So it took a while. I mean, the thing is about this work, number one, this work is sacred. Again, this is just me. This is what I have felt. This work is very sacred, okay? The work is called shadow work, all right? And I say this because you can call it whatever, all right? You can call it, facing your demons, okay? You can call it facing that dark part of yourself. That part that you want to just sweep under the rug and pretend like it didn't exist and just go on with your life. Well, guess what? That's not how it works, all right? I was very controlling in relationships because I didn't want to talk. I did not communicate in my relationships because I did not want to talk. Okay? I assumed that men should know what I want, what I'm thinking, because we're supposed to be here. They don't, women. They don't. Okay? So doing all of this, I end up in the HCL program, which helped me to dig deeper. That's when my business started to pick up because I was letting go more clients, letting go more, like literally, the more I let go, the more clients I had coming in. All right. And that was all last year. This year, I'm learning to be Scorpio. Scorpio is a water sign. It is a feminine sign, okay? I'm learning to step into the feminine and not so much into the masculine, all right? And I'm learning because, my teacher, she's also on YouTube. And when I say my teacher, in another dimension, those of you that don't, what do you mean that dimension? In a dream that was actually reality. We'll go through that later if you're interested. It was a lady she was Caucasian, but she had blonde hair, and she taught me a lot of the gifts that I have. Okay. And so she is actually real, which I was surprised. I'm like, I know her. She's my teacher. She said something which I believe is true. Okay, the first things that she said is, when you're an empath and you're saying, well, this happened to me and that happened to me and these people did this to me, take a step back, and I'm just saying what she's saying but making my own. Take a step back and see the part that you played. Because when you're blaming other people, you're making yourself a victim, okay? And again, this is a no judgment zone. I used to play the part of the victim for the longest time. I blame my church for this. I blame my family for this. You're the reason why I'm fucked up. You're the reason why I don't have anybody. I did all of that, all right? And if you're there right now, okay, fine. Nothing wrong with that. We all go through that. But eventually, I had to take a step back and say, okay, what part did I play? The part that I played was I gave away my freedom. I didn't know that, but I gave away my freedom. I did not stand for my worth. I did not love myself. I did not have my voice, okay? This is the reason why people walked over me. And were there moments where I stood for myself? Yes, there were moments, but I was completely scared. And it was okay. It's okay to do it scared. Okay, because if you're waiting till you completely get rid of your fear to stand for yourself, it's not going to happen. Do it scared. Do it with anxiety. Do it shaking. Do it with a shaky voice. But do it. Do it for you. Okay? The second thing that she mentioned that I totally agree with. So as people get more into spirituality and connection with source, because it's all about relationship, it's all about that heart connection. All right? Is this. Once you know your worth, and when I say know your worth, that means you're not with people that put you down. You love yourself. You're not codependent, depending on someone's happiness to make you happy. You make yourself happy. You take yourself out on dates. I mentioned this in Facebook and Instagram. You take yourself out on dates. You go dancing, you move, you celebrate, whatever it is. Okay? This is you knowing your worth, all right? So when you are there, your vibe, your energy will be high, all right? It will be really high. So once you stand in your power and your knowing and your heart, all right? Once you are doing that consistently, it will no longer matter if the people you around are like, oh my God, they're so draining. You're not going to be drained, okay? Because you're standing in your power. When you are standing in your power and you're emanating that power out, two things are going to happen. People are going to leave, okay? I was put out of a group because I stood in my power. I lost a lot of friends standing in my power, and I was okay with it. Did I grieve? Of course. But now it's like it never happened. Now it feels like I was never in the group. Okay? So when you are there and you know who you are, and it never stops, by the way. This is an ongoing thing. I mean, soon I'm going to be entering my 10th year of working on myself, all right? And if there's anything I will leave with you, it doesn't matter your relationships. You are your number one priority. Okay? You are number one. I'm going to say that again. You are your number one priority. Maybe write yourself a letter. Maybe stand in the mirror and say, I love you. If you're like, Steph, I don't know about that, maybe that means you need to do it. I felt weird about all that too. But man isn't empowering. And it's where it starts. So, hope this was helpful. And please like and subscribe. And I love you all. Just know that you're loved. Know that you're loved. Again, this is a no judgment zone. I say all this from my heart. And I'm on here just because I want to support people just like you. All right? So until next time, love yourself. And I will talk to you soon.